Hello, my name is Jorb. I love gear, and this is the Universal Audio Del-Verb. It is, you guessed it, a combination delay and reverb. You can think of it as the greatest hits of algorithms from UA's Starlight and Golden, their already existing standalone reverb and delay pedal. You have pretty much full control over the delay and a single knob for reverb. So in essence, by buying one pedal, which is cheaper on its own than the Starlight or the Golden, you have access to sounds from both of those. It's not hard at all to see that that's a value proposition. It's not hard at all to see that's a cool thing for UA to put out. But any other technical details, I'd rather talk about on the table. So if you're subscribed, thanks for coming back. If you're a Patreon, appreciate you doing that. It means the world to me. And one last thing before we go to the table, this video is sponsored by Perfect Circuit. I'm sure you know about Perfect Circuit. They are a musical instrument and effect and Yorack. Anything I'm excited about, they sell it. And they sell it online, and they have worldwide shipping. So Perfect Circuit is great to buy from, and from my perspective, they're great to work with. Okay, no more. Let's move on to the table.
Here we are. Take 5 through the Del-Verb. Just like the intro, I have simpler sounds set up on the Del-Verb. Just for my explanation's sake, we'll get to the complicated ones later, I promise you. This is some of the same models from UA's Starlight and Golden, their delay and reverb pedals. That, to me, makes this instantly interesting because it is some of the same models of two separate pedals now in one pedal that is taking up less space, and it costs you a lot less money. So the Del-Verb is a cool thing for UA to put out. All right, let's start with the delays. The first one is this Tape EP3. That is an Echoplex. Classic tape echo. And I know it's such a lame thing to start with, and I know it's what all the other UA pedal demos say, but kind of the main draw is they sound super good. And this is no exception, but I'll quickly move on. So our controls for all the delays, most of them are very straightforward. You guys know what time, feedback, and mix are going to do. Time changes how long before your delay. Feedback, how many times it repeats. And mix, how loud it is relative to the dry signal. It goes from 100% dry to 100% wet. Great, but we also have mod and color, and they do something a little different on each of the models. For the tape delay here, color is an input level. So if I turn that all the way down, barely hear anything. If I turn it all the way up, it's going to be real crunchy. I'm getting lost. You know how I do. I like color about halfway for the tape delay here. Feedback maybe a little less than that. The way mod works on the tape delay, I'll get a closer picture if you can't quite see it on the zoomed in bit of the camera, but it's 4K. Should look pretty good, huh? So the way the modulation parameter works on all these, you've got the full sweep of two separate parameters. Okay, so it's modulation amount, but all the way this left from 0 until noon here is modulation amount on new old stock tape. And from just past noon to 100%, that is no modulation to full modulation on old tape. So let me demonstrate. That's no modulation on new old stock tape. Turn these things up. Really high modulation on new old stock tape. Notice some sort of pitch warbling. Might also be adding stereo differences and some tape artifacts. But as soon as I click over into the top half, and you can sort of hear it change, this should be no modulation on old tape. So there's definitely more tape artifacts there. About half modulation up. That'll interact with our input gain as well. Let's go all the way up in modulation. Definite stereo differences, definitely more tape artifacting. Increase input gain just to exaggerate some of those things. Really, really crunched up. Let me find a better patch to demo this with. Here we go. Does it work? What a good sound. Back to new old stock tape. I like it very, very high, and on the old tape setting, and on the older, worn tape setting. Awesome. I, like, super sincerely could get completely lost on any of these sounds through tape delay, especially one that really does sound good. But you get an idea. You've seen me use the mod switch and things like that. But I'll quickly move on because there is a lot of different potential sounds in here. So this is Analog DMM, Deluxe Memory Man. A model of very classic analog delay, and our color is input level again. Really, really sensitive on this model. These top three knobs always do the same thing. These two things will change. Okay, modulation here on the left side is all vibrato. So let's actually just go full wet really quick and just a few repeats. So you can hear vibrato coming in. And listen really close. Right as I cross noon, you'll hear it click over into the other setting, which is chorus. Which only sounds... I love that. And I love the way analog delay responds to the time changes. And this is getting that really, really right. I don't know exactly, and I'll cut this out if it's not mentioned anywhere. I believe the Universal Audio stuff is component level modeling. Sort of analogous to Roland's ACB technology, where they're trying to recreate the circuits digitally, not just the end result. I think the results are very impressive. Turn down input gain. I'm also pretty hot coming out of the take 5. Try and clean that up. Of course, you'll get cleaner as you go faster on a bucket brigade. Here's something more percussive on this analog sound. Sounds will be cleaner, or the replicated sounds will be cleaner on an analog delay if it's shorter. All the way input gain was a bad idea. Wonderful. We can get this to feedback infinitely. Or self-oscillate, I guess is a better way to say that. That's about as good. That's about as good as I've heard a digital pedal do it. And you know, I haven't played with that many digital emulations of an analog tape delay, and I love having that in here because I think that's just as unique and just as useful as tape delay. We see that 9 times out of 10. Anyway, on to precision. Can you guess what precision is? It's a very precise digital delay. Does not react to your time changes. Actually, I'm going to jump all the way back to the tape to show you something. Because this is modeled after an echoplex and not like a space echo or anything else, the way you change the delay time is physically moving the playback head further back from the record head. So the record head puts the sound onto the tape, and the tape goes around a loop, and theoretically it's always moving the same distance and it's always moving the same speed, right? When we set the delay time, that's just how far apart we're picking up that sound. And so if I move the tape head or change the time while there's not any sound going over it, you'll hear it repeat faster but not time stretch. But if I'm moving the head while playback is happening, it'll be picked up because you're sliding the head over the tape quicker or slower. Isn't that cool? On a space echo, you're speeding up the motor or slowing down the motor. Anyway, I don't know if that matters or not. But in a bucket brigade delay, will always react to a change in time because you're deciding how fast you're reading back that information from its bucket. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And precision, we have no time stretching on the default voicing either. Sorry to jump out of order, is, you guessed it, a very precise digital delay. These three still are all the same. Color is an EQ that's off at noon. Things get darker to the left. Oops. And brighter to the right. A lot brighter. I like it about here. Good sound, useful to have access to. Okay, and mod, our modulation here on the left, same thing. It's the full ranges of 2 parameters, and crossing that noon point is like switching a switch. All the way on the left, it is flanger. Let's get really high. it is coarse. Back to flanger, so we can hear it on the same. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, that's all the default voicings for the delay types. And this, to me, is like kind of an easy stopping point to be like, and I know this isn't like great formatting for the structure of a video, but this is the way my brain's working right now. And after going through, there's tape, there's an analog delay, there's a precision delay. If you're thinking, oh, I want a really nice delay pedal, you might have thought of Strymon stuff, right? To get all three of those sounds from a Strymon pedal, certainly modeled to this level, whether you can get facsimiles of the same result. That is Deco. And do they still make the Bucket Brigade one, the Brigadier? I don't know that they do, but that's Deco, the Brigadier, and El Cap, or Volante. Certainly, you know, this isn't all the features on those, and having them as separate pedals is different, blah, blah, blah. But in one pedal, you have access to 3 extremely high fidelity models of 3 different types of tape delay, and they might be useful to you at different moments or in different projects. And you don't need to buy a totally different pedal to experiment with those sounds or that behavior in a lot of cases. Okay, and I'll quickly show you the reverb before I start talking about some other things. Same thing, we have a Spring 65. I assume that's from a 65 amplifier of something. I'm not sure. Sounds super, super good. Has just enough of that drip to feel legitimate to me, and we just have the mix knobs. There's not much for me to go through. Plate 140. I love plate reverbs. And I know it feels like I'm moving fast, but you'll understand why in a second. Hall 224. The Lexicon 224. And I believe this is an accurate digital recreation of exactly what was happening in those. But that's a classic sound. And so that same idea translates, right? Oh, I want a really nice reverb, I'm not sure what. You have 3 historically important, characterfully, you have 3 historically important reverbs with drastically different character that might make or break a sound, that might be the perfect fit for sound. And it does suck that we don't have any more control over reverb, but there are other settings we can change. I'm going to put my cell phone on Do Not Disturb. I'm going to start a screen recording, and I'm going to open the UAFX app. Here we are. I'm going to set that here so I can use it, but let me select the one pedal I have connected. So this is a Bluetooth-capable pedal, and it connects to your cell phone or a desktop app. It is kind of crazy, okay? What you get when you load up here on voicings, if I go to the reverb side, if I click down, you'll see it change, there we go, to a bunch of different options. You can see right now I'm on default 224 Hall. Well, let's go to ambient space 8 voice. Which is what I was on in the intro. And I think is probably the most like huge spacey sound as far as you can get out of the reverb. And it's just really, really impressive. I think that's an 8 voice chorus is what they mean when they say that. But there are tons and tons of other options. I don't know any of them. There are tons and tons of other options. So let's just do slap treble decay. Enough pre-delay to sound like a unique a delay. How about swimmy and shaky? Low modulated part that hangs on for a while. How about another even still? Pingy mid pre-delay. Well described. Running blades. Blade Runner. Anyway, I will go back to... Wow, that was feeding back insanely. But that is the extent of the control. So you have a bunch of options for each of these, and there are like really cool different ones in each. So I liked Spring C, and I liked the Space Zeros versions. Sort of a very ambient, but still distinctly springy. Some more stereo imaging than the default. Wonderful. And I think the reverb on this really, really, really starts becoming interesting and valuable when you click through these. And same thing here for the delay side. So I think this is the same one I used in part of the intro. So this is jumping up the pitch of the buckets. Combine that, spacey reverb. Low mix on the delay. But still enough to hear. And that's sort of doing things like you get out of the microcosm. Crazy, crazy cool. And I'll show you the settings mode here. This is where you get to use tap tempo. So now this turns on the delay and reverb. We can turn each of them off independently with their mix. And you can tap tempo in your delay time. Wonderful. We can also turn on tails. So if I turn off the pedal while that setting's on, the decay of everything will naturally decay out. If it's off, you know what's going to happen. You'll cut it right off. So I like to leave tails on, and I like to be in the tap tempo mode. Okay, back to voicings. I don't think I showed you anything for the precision mode, and it does really react quickly. I was a little disappointed to learn that stereo ping-ponging is an option in here and not just globally, because I would love to do some of these other modes with ping-ponging. But, that's kind of where I guess I'll transition into my overall thoughts on the app as a way of controlling things. I think I can really see the value in saying, you know what? We don't want this to have any weird shift functions. You don't have to remember, hold two foot switches, hold them while you plug it in. I understand wanting to get past that. And I think it is true that most people who are going to buy this will have a smartphone in their pocket or will be working next to a computer where it's not a tall ask to say, hey, give us your email address, sign up for an app, whatever. I did have to unsubscribe from a newsletter immediately. I think that's a little frustrating, but I understand that's how business works these days. And if you're going to give me one of the most flexible user interfaces society has right now, a touchscreen, and not give me anything other than individual options, it's a little disappointing to me. So clearly there are things changing behind the scenes. Why not give me a selection of knobs? Why not give me a selection of faders, values to change, whatever? And I don't know exactly what the app looks like for the Starlight and the Golden, but I know some of the things I would like to control individually are on the Starlight and the Golden. And if you try this and say, you know what, I want more hands-on control of the delay, guess what? If you're interested enough, you could buy a Starlight and manipulate that. Okay, this also connects to something else. In settings, I just assumed there would be options for MIDI because there's a USB-C port on the back of this. These do not do MIDI. I know that matters a little more to my audience, synthesizer people, than somebody who's showing off guitar pedals. Two guitarists. But no MIDI is a huge, huge shame. And when I looked it up online, there was something on the UA website saying that it was about streamlining these pedals, having them be as hands-on as possible. That to me is a little at odds with asking me to use an app to turn on something as simple as tap tempo. So I'm a little torn on the app. I see the value in it. I see that it could be more. I certainly see that it could be great for configuring MIDI. So there we go with the app. It is a better way to choose settings, especially because you can see their names right on here, and I can pick them from a mode. I can pick them from here, instead of turning a dial that changes an LED. This means a lot more than a lot of the potential solutions for having this much packed into a single pedal. And from that perspective, I appreciate what they've done. Separately from those comments, MIDI would be amazing, and automating these parameters would change the experience and open it up to a lot more people. But sincerely, as a matter of, I want delay and reverb in an easy-to-control package, this sounds startlingly good. So there you go. There's my thoughts. Most importantly, I think this is great. And I really appreciate the opportunity to show it to you guys, so thanks, UA. But no more to say. I'm going to make some insane sound, and I'll fade out with that. My name's Jorb. I love gear that really includes the Del-Verb. Thanks for watching. Cheers and so long.